A Venezuelan patrol boat runs dark, no transponder, and aims straight at a U.S. Coast Guard seizure. That's not routine law enforcement. That's a test. You're in the CIC of USCG Resolve. The Go Fast is loaded with cocaine and chemical precursors. The Guery-class slides between you and the prize, shielding the smugglers and refusing radio. What's your first move? Hold course or deconflict and lose the case. In the next minutes, we break down the OODA Loop that kept this from turning into an international incident, and the one line the captain wouldn't cross. Comment your choice below. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. A warship that kills its lights tilts the board before a single word hits the air. You lose the clock. You lose cooperative ID. And the first move becomes the one that defines the rest of the night. You're in the CIC when the scope splits. One fast contact, small cross-section, sprinting on a shallow arc, classic go fast run. One larger return, steel mass, dark hull, no AIS. The objective is simple and brutal. Lock the evidence before a state hull throws a shadow over it. The Guery-class angles and nose on. Bridge to bridge gets nothing. Speed holds in a band that forces your hand. Press and risk a steel screen. Or deconflict and watch the chain of custody slip over the horizon. The choice is framed by seconds, not feelings. So you start with observe. Radar plot builds tracks and vectors. ESM sniffs for emissions. Any twitch of surface search or navigation sets. Helo spins, FLIR hot, scanning for thermal cues. The Go Fast hot bricks in the bilge, the warship's twin wakes and cold deck. Running dark denies you two things that matter most at sea: clean identification and time to classify. It's like pulling the road signs off a highway at night and then daring you to keep speed. Under call regs and law of sea norms, lights and transponder are the handshake that keeps ships from trading paint. Kill them, and you strip away cooperative deconfliction. You shift the burden onto the cutter that still has a case to make. That's why this move isn't just stealth, it's leverage. Next, Orient. You lay ROE next to the chart. You work under a hybrid authority, law enforcement spine with armed service muscle. And the water is international, which means jurisdiction lives or dies on process. Evidence is a timeline. Video rolling, radio logs timestamped, positions marked, bearings noted, every call recorded. If it isn't logged, it didn't happen. Escalation of presence is the tool that fits. You can light up, sound the siren, hail on every working channel, and roll an air asset, a ladder of signals that says lawful purpose without touching a trigger. RHIB prep isn't just tactics. It's intent on display and a legal move that shows you're ready to board the suspect, not the state hull. But the Venezuelan cutter slides between you and the Go Fast. Steel screen up. If you alter course, you hand the smugglers a lane to run. If you hold your line, they can write the word collision into a complaint and push it to every camera. This is the point where ego loses cases. Resolve widens the net. You stamp each bearing drift, each speed change, each unanswered hail. The helo commits to offset orbit. FLIR on the cargo that can be seen from the air. The RHIB stages quiet on a controlled vector, outside the bow cone, match to sea state, spray low, wakes signature small. No sudden moves, no excuses for a misread as a threat. The payoff is clean and cold. The Go Fast freezes under the air glare. The cutter never closes to hull. Your logs show lawful orders, clear lanes, and a steady hand. The case stays alive. ROE stays cold. But the next move belongs to the Guery-class, and it arrives tuned to force your hand. One line you cannot cross. You don't turn law enforcement into a duel with a flag. The Guery-class plants itself nose on. Engines surging like a metronome, you can feel through the deck. It holds a steel wall between you and the low-profile craft. The Go Fast tucks tight in the wake, using that hull as cover. Your RHIB team is on the ramp, weapons cold, hand signals tight. Overhead, the helo feeds back a grainy, steady stream. Hot bricks glowing in the bilge, fuel tanks strapped like ribs along the gunnels. Every second the geometry tightens. Closing speeds shrink your margin for error. Radio silence from the Venezuelan bridge isn't a glitch, it's posture. The message is simple: we see you, and you won't touch them. This is the game they want. steel near steel, inches that become headlines. So decide. You keep presence at the top of the ladder. Spotlight up, siren on. Lawful orders broadcast in a clear loop across working channels, bridge to bridge, and guard. The helo crosses the wake line. Cameras locked on the contraband in plain view. You narrate each step on tape, time-stamped and calm. You're not talking to them anymore. You're talking to the record that will decide this later. Documentation becomes a shield. Real-time video, clean audio, bearing logs. This is the armor that shapes the story after the spray dries. It cuts space for the other captain to back out without losing face and slams the door on harassment claims. It also keeps your crew aligned. When every move is recorded, every move stays by the book. Then act. RHIB away on a controlled vector that threads outside the Venezuelan balcony. Coxswain trims for the sea state. Throttles smooth. Spray low. No rooster tails. No wake that can be read as a lunge. The helo offsets its orbit to keep rotor wash from the Guery-class deck. Lights steady. Altitude stable. The perimeter looks tight on a plot, but each lane has room to breathe. Why does a state ship risk this? Not for the cargo alone. The payoff is strategic. It contests U.S. presence. It probes the response ladder. It builds footage that claims sovereignty while giving oxygen to networks that line up with regime interests. It's not subtle. It doesn't need to be. It needs a clip and a headline. The Guery-class holds close, inside anyone's comfort bubble, yet never crosses into active interference. That's deliberate. They want you to break first. Your borders climb and work fast, methodical. Packages come up tight-wrapped. Chemical precursors ride with the bricks, a lab in a box for someone downstream. The evidence is sealed, labeled, walked through the camera, handled like it's already in court. You clear the hull, but the problem isn't over. Extraction is the soft target. The Venezuelan ship hangs at offset range, shadowing, hunting for a frame where you look reckless. Your voice stays even. Your track stays predictable. The case is made if you can get clean. And then the break. The Guery-class eases off the nose, angles its bow away, and starts to open distance. A single transmission cuts the air, accusing unsafe maneuvers. Resolve answers with the record, lawful orders issued, lanes maintained, evidence documented. Calm voice. No spike. The seizure stands. No shots fired. The line you wouldn't cross was ego over legitimacy. The second you trade law enforcement posture for a dominance play, you hand them the narrative and risk the mission you came to do. You didn't win by threat. You won by discipline. Now, what would you have called from the chair? The mission wasn't to outmuscle a navy. It was to keep the case airtight under a camera and a gun barrel. That demands process over pride, logs over boasts, and clean chains that stand up when tempers cool. Power, here, is restraint that still closes with the target. What would you do in that chair? Press or deconflict? Comment your choice below and subscribe if you want the mindset that wins these standoffs. Discipline over provocation denies propaganda, keeps seizures, and avoids wars by inches. That's how you project authority without firing. That's how you win the night and wake up with the case intact.